Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the rounding highest or lowest practice questions. So the highest and lowest practice questions, this booklet is focusing on discrete data that's been rounded, and we are trying to find what the lowest value could have been or the highest value could have been. If you want the video tutorial on that, if you go to corbettmaths.com and scroll down to video 280, there's the video tutorial on finding that lowest possible value or highest possible value for discrete data. Alternatively, you could scan this QR code and it'll bring you straight to that video. Okay, let's get started. So question number one. Okay, let's have a look at question number one. So question number one says, a sign says there's 230 people that live in a village, correct to the nearest 10. And we've been asked to write down the lowest possible number of people that live in the village. So the number of people that live in the village, when we round it, we get 230. So when we round it to the nearest 10, we get 230. So it could have been 230, because when we round 230 to the nearest 10, that's 230. But it could also be a number that's lower than 230. It could be 229. When we round this number to the nearest 10, well, our choices would be 220 or 230. This is closer to 230, so that would round up to 230. So that means there could be 229 people that live in the village. There could be 228, because that would round up to 230. There could be 227, that would round up to 230. There could be 226 people that live in the village, that would round up to 230. There could even be 225 people that live in the village, because that would round up to 230. But there couldn't be 224, because that would round down to 220. So the lowest possible number of people that live in the village would be 225. So the answer would be 225. Okay, part B. Part B says write down the greatest possible number of people that could live in the village. Well, there could be 230, like we talked about. That would round to give 230 to the nearest 10. It could be a number bigger than 230 that's been rounded down, so it could be 231. When we round 231 to the nearest 10, our choices would be 230 or 240. We would round that down to 230, so it could be that number. It could be a slightly bigger number. It could be 232, because that would round down to 230. It could be 233. That would round down to 230. It could be 234, that would round down to 230, so that could be a possible answer. But it couldn't be 235, because 235, although it's in the middle of 230 and 240, remember when it ends in a 5 we round up, so that would be 240. So it can't be 235, so the answer would be the greatest number of possible people that could live in the village would be 234, so 234. Okay, question number two. Question number two says, David is thinking of a whole number, and when he rounds the number to the nearest 100, his answer is 600. So he's rounded his number to the nearest 100, and he's got an answer of 600. What is the smallest possible number David could be thinking of? So it could be a number, whenever he rounds it to the nearest 100, to give 600, but it could be a number that is smaller than 600. So for instance, it could be 599, that would round up to the nearest 100 to be 600. It could even be 570. When we round that number to the nearest 100, our choice would be 500 or 600. That would round up to 600, because it's closer to 600 than 500. It could even be 551, because if we had 551 and we rounded to the nearest 100, we would have 600 as our answer. It could even be 550. 550 would be the smallest possible number that he could think of, because 550 rounded to the nearest 100 would be 600. So the smallest possible number David could be thinking of would be 550. What's the largest possible number David could be thinking of? Well, he could have thought of 601, because when we round that to the nearest 100, it would be 600. It could be 640. When we round that to the nearest 100, our answer would be 600. It could even be 649, because if we're asked to round 649 to the nearest 100, our answer would be 600. But it couldn't be 650, because that would round up to 700. So the largest possible number, because it's a whole number that David could be thinking of, would be 649. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number three. So question number three, we've got this sign and it says Frome, and we've got the population of Frome being 26,000. Correct the nearest 1,000. So this sign has told us that the population of Frome, whenever we round it, we get 26,000. When we round it to the nearest 1,000, we get 26,000. So the population could have been 26,000. We could have been lucky and the population of Frome might be exactly 26,000, and it's been rounded to give us 26,000 to the nearest 1,000. Alternatively, it could have been a number below 26,000 or a number above 26,000, and it's been rounded to the nearest 1,000, and the answer is 26,000. And part A asks us to find what's the lowest possible number of people that could live in Frome. So we're rounding this to the nearest 1,000, so it could be 25,900, that would round up to 26,000. It could be 25,600, that would round up to 26,000. It could even be 25,500, because that would round up to 26,000. However, it couldn't be the number below that, 25,499, because that would round down to 25,000. So the lowest possible number of people that could live in Frome would be 25,500. Okay, and part B. Part B says, what's the greatest possible number of people that could live in a room? So we want to find the greatest possible whole number that whenever we round it to the nearest thousand will give us an answer of 26,000. So let's consider the numbers that would round to 26,000 to the nearest thousand. So it could be 26,100, that would round down to 26,000. It could be 26,400, that would round down to 26,000. It couldn't be 26,500 because that number rounds up to 27,000, so it couldn't be that. So it could be the number just one lower than that, so it could be 26,499. So the greatest possible number of people that could live in a room would be 26,499. Okay, question number 4. Question number 4 says the number of people at a football match is 44,000. This is correct to the nearest thousand. So it could have been 44,000, but it could be a number lower than 44,000 that's been rounded up to 44,000, or it could be a number above 44,000 that's been rounded down to give us 44,000 to the nearest thousand. We've been asked what's the lowest possible number of people at the match. So it could have been 43,900, that would round up to give us 44,000. It could have been 43,600, that would round up to give us 44,000 to the nearest thousand. It could even be as low as 43,500, because that number would round up to give us 44,000. So our lowest possible number of people at the match would be 43,500, and that's it. And it couldn't be the number that's just one lower than that. It couldn't be 43,499, because that would round down to give us 43,000. So the answer would be 43,500. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, question number 5. Question number 5 says, a farmer says she's got 2,500 sheep to the nearest 100. What is the greatest possible number of sheep that she has? So she could have 2,500, and we round it to give us 2,500 exactly, and that's fantastic. But it could have been a number that was bigger than 2,500 and that's rounded down to give us 2,500. She could actually have more than 2,500 sheep. So let's consider the numbers that would round down to give us 2,500 to the nearest 100. Well, it could be 2,501 sheep, because when we round that to the nearest 100, it would give us 2,500. It could have been 2,530 sheep, because that rounded to the nearest 100 would be 2,500. It could have been anything up to 2,549, because that number would round down to 2,500 rather than up to 2,600. But it couldn't be 2,550, because that number would round up to be 2,600 to the nearest 100. So the answer would be 2,549 sheep. So that's the greatest possible number of sheep that she could have. Okay, question number 6. So question number 6 says, Karina has £1,950 to the nearest £10 and Joel has £2,000 to the nearest £100. Sure, Karina could have more money than Joel. Now this question, we're dealing with money, and remember, even though we've been given pounds, it could be pence as well whenever we were considering the numbers that would round to give us 1,950 to the nearest £10. So we've got to be dealing in pounds and pence here. And we're told, sure, Karina could have more money than Joel. So she's got £1,950 once it's been rounded to the nearest 10. So we want to show that she's got more money than him, or could have more money than him. So let's find the greatest possible amount of money that Karina could have. So we're considering money we're considering amounts that would round to give us £1,950 to the nearest £10. So she could have £1,951, that would round down to give us 1,950 whenever we round it to the nearest 10. She could have £1,954, that would round down to give us £1,950 to the nearest £10. She couldn't have £1,955, so she couldn't have that because that would round up to the next 10, so that would be £1,960, so she couldn't have that. But remember here, she could have pence, so she could have anything just below £1,955. So the greatest possible amount of money that she could have would be £1,954 and 99 pence, because that amount of money would round down to give us £1,950 to the nearest 10. But anything just slightly above that would round up to give us £1,960. Okay, so that's the greatest possible amount of money that Karina could have. Joel. So now let's consider Joel and consider the lowest possible amount of money that Joel could have. And his amount of money has been rounded to the nearest £100. So we want to consider numbers that round to 2,000 to the nearest 100. So he could have £1,980. That would round up to 2,000 if we rounded it to the nearest 100. He could have lower amounts. He could have £1,960. He could even have £1,950 because that would round up to the nearest 100 to be 2,000. But he couldn't have £1,980 £1,949, because that amount of money would round down to be 1,900 rather than up to be 2,000. So the lowest possible amount of money that Joel could have would be this amount of money. Now he can't have anything below this, because if he had £1,949 or anything like that, it would round down. So this is the lowest possible amount of money that he could have. So we've been asked to show that Karina could have more money than Joel. Well, we just need to state that. We could state that she could have anything up to £1,954.99, but he could have anything as low as £1,950, so she could possibly have more money than Joel. So I've just written down, Karina could have as much as £1,954.99, and Joel could have anything as little as £1,950, so therefore she could have more money than Joel. She might not do, but she could do. Okay, our next question, question number 7. So question number 7 says, there's 60 pencils in a tub, correct to the nearest 10. So there's a certain number of pencils in a tub, and when we round it to the nearest 10, it gives us an answer of 60. So it could be 55, that would round up to 60, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63 and 64. They're all the possible number of pencils that could be in the tub, because anything greater than 64 would round up to be 70 to the nearest 10, and anything below 55 would round down to 50. Miss Harrison hands out 8 tubs of pencils, so she gives out 8 tubs of pencils, perhaps to each table in the class, and we're asked what's the lowest possible number of pencils that Miss Harrison could have given out. Well, there's 8 tubs, we know that for certain, so there's going to be 8, and the lowest number of pencils in each tub would be 55. So if we assume that each of the tubs has 55 pencils in it, the lowest possible number, and we do 8 lots of 55, that will tell us the lowest possible number of pencils that Miss Harrison could have given out. So we need to do 8 times 55. So let's do 55 multiplied by 8 and see what we get. It's a non-calculator question. So 8 times 5 is equal to 40, put our 0 down, carry our 4, and 8 times 5 is equal to 40, plus 4 is 44. So the lowest possible number of pencils that Miss Harrison could have given out would be 440. If the question asks us what's the greatest possible number of pencils that Miss Harrison could have given out, we would have done 8 times 64, and that would have told us the greatest possible number of pencils that Miss Harrison gave out. Okay, question number 8. So question number 8 says, Nicola is organising a concert to raise money for charity, and entry to the concert is £4. So it costs £4 to enter the concert, and that's not rounded, that is £4, everyone's paying £4, and the number of people attending the concert is 800 to the nearest 100. So that means it could have been a number lower than 800, it could have been a number higher than 800, but when it was rounded to the nearest 100, the answer is 800. And the question is, what is the greatest possible amount of money that she has raised for charity? And this is a calculator question. So let's consider, we want to find the greatest possible amount of money that she could have raised for charity. So we want to find the highest number of people that could have bought tickets. So there's 800 people, that's rounded to the nearest 100, so we want to find the number that whenever we round it to the nearest 100, it would give us 800, but the largest possible number. So it could be 801, that rounded to the nearest 100 would be 800. It could be 840, that rounded to the nearest 100 would be 800. It couldn't be 850, because when we round 850 to the nearest 100, that would be 900. So the greatest possible amount of people that could have been would be 849. Now, each person pays £4, so we need to do 849 times £4, and that would tell us the total amount of money, or the greatest possible amount of money, that Nicola could have raised for charity. And that's equal to 3,396. So the greatest possible amount of money that Nicola could have raised for charity would be £3,396. Okay, let's have a look at question number 9. So question number 9 says, there are 80 pens to the nearest 10 in box A. So box A has got 80 pens to the nearest 10. So it could have been a number as low as 75. That rounded to the nearest 10 would be 80. Or it could have been a number as high as 84, because that number rounded to the nearest 10 would be 80. But 85 would round up and 74 would round down. So it could be anything between those two values. And box B, it has 200 pens to the nearest 10 in box B. So we're rounding to the nearest 10. So the lowest possible number that would round up to 200 to the nearest 10 would be 195, and the greatest possible number in box B that would round down to 200 would be 204, because 205 would round up to be 210. And the question says work out the greatest possible number of pens in total. So we want to find the greatest possible number of pens in box A, 84, and the greatest possible number of pens in box B, 204, and add them together. So 84 plus 204 would be equal to 288. So the greatest possible number of pens in total would be 288. If we were asked for the lowest possible number of pens in total, we would have added together 195 and 75, but we were asked for the greatest possible number of pens. Okay, question number 10. So question number 10 says the population of Northern Ireland is 1.9 million to the nearest 100,000. So in other words, the number of people in Northern Ireland, whenever it's been rounded to the nearest 100,000, the answer is 1.9 million. Now it could have been that exactly, but chances are it would have been something slightly different, and it's been rounded and it's given that to the nearest 100,000. And we've been asked what's the lowest possible number of people that could live in Northern Ireland. So it could have been a number lower than 1,900,000, and it could have been anything as low as 1,850,000, because anything below that number, such as 1,849,999, that number, whenever we round it to the nearest 100,000, would be 1,800,000 rather than 1,900,000. So that number wouldn't work, that would round down, whereas this number would round up to the nearest 100,000 to be 1.9 million or 1,900,000. So our lowest possible amount of people would be 1,850,000. Okay, part B. Part B says what's the greatest possible number of people that live in Northern Ireland. So it's been rounded to the nearest 100,000 to be 1.9 million or 1,900,000. So it couldn't be 1,950,000. And the reason is, if we rounded that to the nearest 100,000, it would round up to be 2 million. So it can be the number just one lower than that. So it could be 1,949,999. So that's the greatest possible number of people that could have lived in Northern Ireland at the time of this question being written. But it couldn't be this number because that would round up to be 2 million. So the answer would be 1,949,999. And that's it. Okay, question number 11. Okay, question number 11. So question number 11 says Deja has $12,000 to the nearest $100. And part A says write down the least or the lowest possible amount of money that Deja could have. So it's been rounded to give us $12,000 to the nearest $100. So it says the nearest $100. So the $100 below that would be $11,900. So we want to find the number that would round up to be $12,000 but not down to be $11,900. So that's going to be $11,950. That amount of money would round up to be $12,000. If we round this to the nearest 100, it'd be 12,000, but it wouldn't round down to be 11,900. So that's the lowest possible amount of money that Deja could have, because anything below that would round down. So that would be $11,950. Okay, part B. Part B says write down the greatest amount of money that Deja has. So, what's the greatest possible amount of money that she could have? Well, it says it's been rounded to the nearest $100, and the answer is 12,000. So it hasn't rounded up to be 12,100, because if we had $12,050, now if we had that amount of money and we rounded it to the nearest $100, it would round up to be 12,100. So we want the amount of money that is just below that. So remember, here we're dealing with money, so that means we can have pence, or in this case cents, and so that means we can have just slightly below this amount of money. We can have just below $12,050. So that means we could have $12,049.99. So that is the greatest possible amount of money that she could have. Some students think it's going to be $12,049, but remember, it says what's the greatest possible amount of money that she could have? Well, she could have some cents as well. As long as it doesn't reach up to $12,050, then it would be the greatest possible amount of money. So that would be, the answer would be $12,049.99. Okay, let's have a look at question number 12. So question number 12 says, Thomas has 6 bags of 20p coins and 8 bags of 50p coins. And each bag of 50p coins contains 100 coins to the nearest 10. There's 100 coins to the nearest 10. So it means it's been rounded. So it could be anything as low as 95 coins. So that's the lowest number of 50p's in each bag. Or it could be anything as high as 104 coins, because anything higher than that would round up. So that's the lowest possible number of 50p coins he has in each bag. And each 20p bag contains £5 to the nearest pound. So the lowest amount of money was to the nearest pound. So the lowest amount of money could be £4.50, and the greatest possible amount of money would be £5.49, because £5.50 would round up to be £6, and £4.50 would be the lowest possible number that would round up to be £5. So that's how much money he could have in 20p's in each of the bags to the nearest pound. And the question says, work out the difference between the greatest and smallest amount of money that Thomas could have. So let's first of all find the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have, so the greatest. So it says 6 bags of 20p coins. Now each bag of 20p coins, that's important, it contains just 20p coins. So 20, 40, 60, 80, £1, 20, 40, 60, 80, £2, and so on. So £4.60, so you could have £4.60, you could have £4.80, you could have £5, he could have £5.20, he could have £5.40, but he couldn't have £5.60 because we're told that it contains 20p's and it's got £5 to the nearest pound. So it has to be in between £4.50 and £5.49. So there's 5 possible amounts that he could have: £4.60, £4.80, £5, £5.20 and £5.40. Now, because we're wanting to work out the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have to begin with, let's assume that each of the bags of 20p's contain £5.40. So we've got £5.40 in those 20p bags, and we're going to multiply that by 6 because he's got 6 bags of 20p's. So 6 multiplied by £5.40 would give us an answer of £32 and 40p. So that's how much money he could have in 20p coins. But he also has 8 bags of 50p coins, and each of the 50p bags contains 100 coins to the nearest 10. So it could be anything as low as 95 coins or anything as high as 104 coins. So because they're 50p's, let's work out what 95 50p's and 104 50p's would be to work out the lowest possible and the greatest possible amount of money he could have in each of the 50p bags. So if we do 95 multiplied by 50p, 0.5, and if we do 104 multiplied by 0.5, that would tell us the smallest possible amount of money he could have in each bag and the greatest. So 104 multiplied by 0.5 would give us £52 for £52. So £52 is the greatest possible amount of money he could have in each of these bags, and 95 multiplied by 50p would give us £47 and 50 pence. So because we're finding the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have altogether, he's got 8 bags of 50p coins. The greatest number of coins in each of the bags would be 104, so that's £52. So if we do 8 lots of 52, so £52 multiplied by 8, that would tell us how much money he could have, the greatest possible amount of money he could have in 50p's. So 52 times 8 is equal to £416. Now if we add those together, that would tell us the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have. And that is £448 and 40 pence. So that's the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have. Let's find the smallest now. So the smallest. So he could have, let's deal with 6 bags of 20p's. Well, the smallest amount of money he could have in each of the 20p bags is £4.60. So if we do £4.60 multiplied by 6, that would tell us the smallest amount of money he could have in 20p's. So £4.60 times 6 is equal to £27 and 60 pence. And in terms of the 50p coins, he's got 8 bags of 50p coins. They could have as little as 95 coins in them, which is £47.50. So if we do £47.50 multiplied by 8, that would tell us how much money he could have in 50p's, which is equal to £380. And if we add those together, that would tell us the smallest possible amount of money that he could have, and that would be equal to £407 and 60 pence. So we've got the greatest possible amount of money that Thomas could have and the smallest amount of money that Thomas could have. So if we take those away, that will then tell us the difference between the greatest and the smallest amount of money that Thomas could have. So £448 and 40 pence take away £407 and 60 pence gives us an answer of £40 and 80 pence. So the difference would be £40 and 80 pence. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the rounding highest and lowest practice questions. So dealing with rounding questions where we're trying to find the highest and lowest possible values for discrete data. I really hope you found this video useful. If you have found it useful, please like it and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.